So Leon Edwards seems to be battling a staph infection in the lead up to UFC London. I just recently found out about this, and I have some evidence for you guys to show that it is indeed a staph infection. Now, numerous fights have been affected by staph infections over the past several months, and I think there is a commonality between lesser performances for those who have the staph infection. Example would be Islam Makhachev and Alex Pereira. Both of them had victories in their fights where they were battling staph, but had to overcome some more adversity than expected on paper against the fighters they fought, right? Khalil Roundtree dropped Alex Pereira. Dustin Poirier was difficult for Makhachev to take down for a lot of the fight. And then you look at Sean Strickland, who definitely had a staph infection in the recent Dricus du Plessis fight. Kind of his worst performance ever, maybe besides getting badly chinned against Alex Pereira. Another example is Sarukian ending up not even fighting against Islam Makhachev. He had staph in the lead up to that fight that didn't come to be. Is it the staph that took him out? Maybe it could have, made the weight cut more difficult, which could have led to the back strain. That's a lot of hearsay. But I do know that Leon Edwards has a growth on his right arm near the elbow region, and I'm pretty damn sure that it's a staph infection. You can see it here. That's staph, guys. There's really no argument about it. We can zoom in. Looks pretty gnarly. Now, this picture was released from UFC Europe, I believe about 4 days ago. And you can see that the welt looks quite inflamed, swollen, and even a little hole in the center. These are all telltale signs of a staph infection. Also have a picture of it from another angle, which I'll show you guys as well. This angle here, you can see it. Yes, definitely a staph, not just some picture based on the lighting. There's a legit little hole in his arm with swelling around it. Now, Leon Edwards being of, a darker skin tone doesn't have the redness that we've seen on some of the other fighters with the staph infection, but that is surely a staph infection on the right elbow. Now, what does this mean about the fight? Well, it's worrisome for sure because we have Sean Brady, who is a pretty beastly pressure-based grappler, and now Leon potentially fades in the later rounds because of this. I have more images of the staph, and we can kind of get a little evolution of the staph infection going on. You can see here, this was a week ago. Leon Edwards posted on his Instagram, and he has his right arm, specifically the inflamed/infected area, covered by what seems to be some type of white wrap, but it's not on his other arm. So obviously he didn't want the cameras to see the staph infection, but was unavoidable with the UFC Europe picture. Another weird instance, too, is he is training with Christian Leroy Duncan, and in the back of my mind, it has me thinking, is there a possibility that Leroy could have got contaminated by the staph from working out with Leon and training in the same mats? Not that I've seen evidence of Leroy Duncan with a staph infection, but just a thought that has crossed my mind. Now, so he tried to hide it, but you're not going to hide it from us, savage fans for long, because we will find it and the UFC will somehow post it. So there is it uncovered. There is it covered up a week ago. So how long has this been going on? Well, I would assume anywhere from, 3 weeks, maybe a little less. Seeing that a week ago we had it covered. Normally the staph infection, as it's treated, takes about 7 to 10 days to subside. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, he had it covered up a week ago. I would be under the assumption that he is still been battling it through the earlier portion this week. Even if it is healed now and he is off the antibiotics, there is a potential that it could mess him up in the fight. A lot of hearsay, though. We don't know for sure, but I'm pushing out a cautionary tale and really trying to just enlighten you guys on exactly what's going on. Staph infection's going crazy. Now, you can see this is a harder to see picture, but I will say this is from, I believe, yesterday or earlier today. There is a sense of it healing. Now, does that mean that he's off the antibiotics? No, it just means that the inflamed area is no longer so inflamed, but there's still remnants of what was a staph infection, and he had it last week. It becomes a bit of a tricky scenario to predict because I don't know the exact lead up of, when he got it to when he treated it to is he still on antibiotics. But you can see that he still has more red markings on that right arm. So like the area is not 100% completely and utterly cleared, but it's, seeming to be in a healing process. Now, that means he could have been on antibiotics for the past week and now he's off of them. That could mean that he is still currently running antibiotics. Now, I looked into how long are antibiotics for staph infections, and typical treatment is going to be 7 to 10 days. But of course, depending on the severity of the staph infection, could be longer. There's a possibility that maybe he was on, 2 weeks of antibiotics. And then there's a small percentage chance that maybe he was just on the topical antibiotic for a few days. Don't know for sure. We don't have that type of medical information. But what I do know is it tends to be suboptimal for a fighter's gas tank and striking output as they're fighting with staph infection. And I think many of us can all come together and agree that Leon Edwards has been, slightly lower output guy in recent fights. Like specifically the Colby Covington fight comes to mind. Even against Bilal, granted he had good moments in the fight, but I think his output is still low and he's very willing to fight off of the back foot. And now you match him up with a hungry grappler who's consistent with forward pressure. I have to say, I feel some intense worries about this. Now, looking at some types of staph infection can take longer time, like potentially 14 days, right? So seeing that a week ago he had it covered, seeing that it seems to be healing a bit, we could be under the assumption that he may still be on antibiotics. He may not be on antibiotics. We're kind of just guessing game with that aspect. But I do think that it makes an impact in the fight. And even if he was on antibiotics the past 10 days, and let's say the past couple days, let's say Monday, he got off of them, is it still affecting his output? How is he going to feel come Saturday? Probably fine. But then the other argument is he could still be on it right now and could be on it up until the weekend, might be on it on fight day. I have to say, timing of this is not a good look. There has to be a bit of a fearful assumption that this could be a negative effect on his performance. Now, I've been picking Sean Brady either way, but I do feel as though there are a lot of people that are, I would say, relatively high on the Leon Edwards underdog side. But if he's getting tired, right, a wrestling heavy attack by Sean Brady, that really tanks the gas tank, specifically of strikers. As good as Leon Edwards is in grappling positions for a guy that really was primarily a kickboxer at the start, it still is going to zap his gas tank. And now you add in an X factor of potentially antibiotics slash battling an infection into the mix over the past couple weeks. And now I think he's getting tired faster. Now you can see, right, one of the side effects. I don't know why it says rare side effects. I disagree with this. But the truth of it all is fatigue or a general feeling of tiredness or weakness are quite probable when taking the antibiotics needed to cure a staph infection. So we could be looking at an effect on Leon right here. And I'll give you guys another run through. I just want to stare at that staph. I mean, it looks pretty bad. I actually think that this staph infection kind of looks worse than some of the other fighters that had staph over the past several months. I mean, you can look here, like Islam's leg didn't look as bad and it had a negative effect on the fight. Now, granted, in the media picture, it looked as though it was starting to heal up, as we see something similar for Leon Edwards, that like it looks as though the arm is starting to heal up here. Kind of looks like he may have just like scraped it all off himself. I don't know. But like seeing that it's a little bit lighter there, at the end of the day, there's still inflammation in this picture. And just because the hole seems to be closed up doesn't mean that, he still isn't being treated for this staph infection. So I have my worries about it, man. I think it could surely affect this main event. And it is breaking news to discover that we're looking at a freaking staph infection for him. This angle, though, it looks atrocious. Like this, it looks badly inflamed. And I mean, these pictures were released like 4 days ago, right? So are they from 4 days ago? Maybe they were from the day before. I don't think the UFC is taking a week to put out pictures. I mean, they could be from at the most, maybe, if it's 4 days ago posted, 3 days before that, a week ago. That could have been it a week ago. And that looks like the early stages of staph. And I'd assume that he was just starting the antibiotics. I am pushing a bit of maybe a conspiracy, you could say, but I'm feeling like either he's going to be off antibiotics Wednesday, or he could potentially still be on antibiotics up until the day of the weigh-ins. Like, not a good look. I know he won't want to be on them, so I'd assume that there is a real possibility that even if he is still prescribed them for, a 2-week window, let's say, there's a possibility that he stops it short because he doesn't want to risk it affecting the weight cut. But you also got to treat the infection, because if not treated, I mean, staph infection can lead to, I don't want to say fatal. I'm not trying to put any bad juju out, but it can lead to more intense of an infection, and the staph can turn into something that like you need to be hospitalized over. And I'm sure Leon doesn't want that. I'm under the assumption that the gas tank is going to be dwindled. I think that he is going to fatigue slightly faster. And in a high-paced wrestling style matchup against a guy like Sean Brady, I think you have to add confidence in on Sean Brady because of this instance. I feel more confidence on Sean Brady, because if Leon's getting tired come round number 3 with a heavy wrestling-based game, I'd say it's a worrisome call. Now, you can see the lines here. It's not like anything has been drastically affected, but I am curious if we're going to see a spread of the odds over the next several hours because of this information coming out. -155 for Sean Brady, Leon Edwards +135. As I said earlier in the video, a lot of people really love the Leon Edwards underdog. He's got the height advantage. He's longer. He's got good kickboxing. He's a sniper when he's on one. But now you have to recognize he's dealing with a savage pressure-based fighter in Sean Brady, who's in his face for the entire time and battling a staph infection, 2 foes that he's fighting against come Saturday. I think Sean Brady probably puts a pace on him, and still the pick remains Sean Brady for me. There's not a prediction-based video, but it's a truth-based take that Leon Edwards seems to have staph infection, and if there's any performance that he needs to be absolutely on one and prepared to go 5 hard rounds, it would be this one in a matchup against a high-paced pressure grappler like Sean Brady. And I think ultimately he could succumb to that Brady pressure over the hard 5 rounds. Maybe even ends up getting submitted, which would be pretty damn wild. But yes, official consensus as Dr. Staph experts on MMA YouTube, this is a double thumbs up. This is definitely a staph infection that Leon's battling. Maybe you saw these pictures floating around online and you were wondering yourself if this is real. Yes, this is what staph looks like. It's unfortunate that Leon is battling staph, and it's also really unfortunate that we have like perpetual instances of staph infection. Why are these gyms not optimizing sanitization of the mats? And why are these fighters not optimizing taking showers after training, man? Holy hell. Too many staph infections this year, right? I feel like there's never been this many staph infections. I feel like it was a rare occurrence. Now I feel like it's literally once a month we're seeing somebody affected by a staph infection on a fight card. Unfortunate, but is what it is. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that Leon has no issues weighing in. I don't think he will. And then let's keep our fingers crossed that it isn't super impactful on his performance, because at the end of the day, regardless of my prediction, I want to see the best version of Leon Edwards versus the best version of Sean Brady. But I will tell you, Sean Brady coming in on 4 weeks notice and Leon Edwards now battling staph infection may potentially close that gap, which could be a slight advantage, having a full camp to prepare for somebody, or rather a fight in general, even though he wasn't specifically preparing for Sean Brady, as opposed to stepping in on 4 weeks notice. Now that gap is closed. So I think this is pretty interesting fight. Like, I want to say pretty 50-50, but I am picking Sean Brady. I just feel like the grappling leads the way. But yeah, that's the news of the day, guys. I want to give you guys more of like a quick hits news video. A week ago, it was there. He's probably either coming off of antibiotics now or potentially still on them. And there is a real possibility, a high possibility, that it does impede his performance, specifically in that output of, striking flow and his cardiovascular ability. So we shall find out when the cage door closes. But quick little news video to keep you guys updated in the known of what's going on. There's really not a lot of crazy MMA news, unfortunately. Like, I'm waiting for a major fight announcement or something, but at least we got a story to talk about, even if it's a bit unfortunate for the main event. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the likes on your way out. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I love you all right? You guys are savages. W's in the comments if you got nothing to say, but definitely let me know. Do you agree with me? This is staph infection, bro. Come on. Let me know if you agree down below. Thanks for watching, guys. See you all on the next one. Peace out.